me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
We serve a bigger role a lot of times too, from the mental and social and physical wellness side of it as well, you know. And the great thing about it, I think, is it shows what Parks and Recreation can do and what a park district can do in a community, no matter what the situation is we can adjust and adapt and provide some sort of service. Well, he committed to basically providing any kind of childcare we needed to provide over however long we needed to provide it.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series, where our mission is to lift up the voices of Parks and Rec professionals and share the hard-earned lessons they've learned. Today, we're joined by a special guest from the great state of Illinois, Doug Damery, the Director of Parks and Recreation for the town of Normal. We'll be diving into the heart of the Parks and Rec community, getting an inside look at the department he leads. We'll hear about the challenges and rewards of running 2 aquatic centers, the vital role of the facilities maintenance team, and the grand opening of a brand new concrete skate park. Doug will also share his insights on why Parks and Rec is the perfect place for young people to get their first job. So stick around and get ready to be inspired by the people who power our parks. Let's dive in. All right, so we're live again. Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. I have a special guest from the great state of Illinois who is often find themselves leading the charge in every way possible, which means they step on all the landmines first for us. So we appreciate that. How are you doing today, Doug?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you on the show. So I'm going to, per usual, play our 200th episode. Thank you to everyone that's come on the show and helped us to create content and share the wisdom inside of all these Parks and Rec departments and trying to get it out into the digital world so that we can share all the hard-earned lessons that y'all have picked up over the years. So appreciate that. And here's a thank you from us to you. From a simple mic in a rec center to a full-scale media company for the people who power our parks. 200 real stories, 5 original shows, and more to come, with one powerful mission: to lift up the voices of Parks and Rec professionals across the country. From maintenance crews and young interns and youths who love sports, to directors and public servants making a difference. We've built a platform that honors the unsung heroes behind every clean trail, every weekend tournament, every safe, welcoming park. This milestone isn't just about the content, it's about the people, the passion, the purpose. To every guest, listener, and supporter, thank you. The next chapter starts today. This is DPRS Media Co. Media for public service. All right, so again, big thank you to everyone that was willing to come online and brave enough to face the camera and tell their story and share with them wisdom they've learned along the way. And now in phase 3 of DPRS Media Co., as we seek to create a platform and a media company where Parks and Rec can just have their stories told and share the wisdom, we are finally opening it up to strategic partners, which means those vendors that have been serving this community well for decades. We're asking you to help us co-create specific shows about parts of Parks and Recreation that need much more depth than just a 1-hour overview, but maybe go really deep on grant writing or facilities maintenance or youth sports. And so hot off the press, this is our version 2 of reaching out to those partners. So this is the first time we've aired it. I just downloaded it yesterday. It came out of our production team. So this is the first time we get to air it. Let me know how we did, Doug, on this one.
Okay.
At DPRS Media Co., we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of Parks and Rec.
Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together.
How'd we do on that one?
Yeah, I've been trying to follow a little bit of those initiatives. There's a lot of information out there already.
Yeah, we're it's amazing when you put about 300 to 400 hours a week into a project, how much it grows. We've got a lot of 8 of us full-time working on this. I guess it's easier than, I'm trying to think of the first big news media was probably CNN back in the day, compared to what the heavy lift they had to do. And then I'm thinking ESPN, the Cooking
I was going to
Network.
say ESPN sounds similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that started in some bar room with 4 or 5 guys that like sports and say, "Hey, let's make a whole media company. We do nothing but sports."
Yeah, who wants to see all that other news?
Right.
Let's just watch the sports.
Now we've got like the hunting channel, the shopping channel. It's like, it seems like there's a channel for every interest you could shake a stick at.
Yeah.
So now we're wanting to do one for Parks and Recreation. So here we go. So Doug, okay, let's why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and then I'd like to go back into your origin story of how you got into Parks and Recreation. But maybe at first just tell people what you're doing today.
So currently I'm director of Parks and Recreation in the town of Normal, Illinois, as we kind of mentioned earlier. So yeah, I'm just, I'm running a department of about 34 full-time employees. Mostly, about half of those are park maintenance, but we run a pretty significant amount of recreation programming. Got a great team. We try to get into a little bit of everything. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
What are all those medals hanging in the background? Is that your
those are my half marathon and marathon
way
races. Yeah.
What's your best time?
I ran in Disney. I ran a 3:29 and 52 seconds. So just got under that 3:30 mark. Yeah, that was in 2008. So it's been a while since
how long have you been running for? You still running, or?
Oh, I ran cross country in high school and been running off and on since then. Obviously, at more intensity than others. I ran a half marathon in the Illinois half marathon in down in Champaign-Urbana in spring. So still running. Not much this summer. I tried to focus on golf this summer.
Yeah. I used to coach cross country and I ran cross country in high school, but I do not have a cross country body. And the first half marathon I ran, I was amazed at the shapes that were crossing the line well in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay, if those people can do it, what am I doing here?
It's quite an adjustment from that 3:29 to what I'm doing nowadays, because a little older, a little slower. So it's hard to kind of come to terms with that.
Yes. And that's one thing I love about cross country and running in general. If you want to find your mental and emotional limit every day, every time you run,
yeah,
cross country does it. You kind of reach your breaking point.
Yep. It's a great sport.
Oh, it is. It is. I highly encourage everybody that can run, keep doing it as long as you can, because at some point your body's just going to say, let's pick up something a little easier. Okay, so let's go back to kind of in high school, grade school. Did you grow up in Parks and Recreation, or did you discover it later in life?
Not really. I'm a little, I don't know. I'm a little aged, I guess we can
Mhm.
say. I grew up in a small town in central Illinois. It's called Metamora, Illinois. It's outside Peoria, Illinois. Kind of halfway, really, almost in between Bloomington Normal and Peoria. But anyway, not a lot of park and rec options, especially for a professional. Most of what we did have a park district in town, which is one of the great things about Illinois. And they ran the pool. I was at the pool every day. We had baseball. Everybody, I feel like all the, everybody played baseball or softball growing up. We had some youth organizations that ran basketball leagues, and I participated in all that stuff. But no, from a professional standpoint, I really didn't know about it like most people.
Mhm.
So from there, but it was funny because I was always organizing, like in our neighborhood. I was always hosting our the wiffle ball game. We played almost every day. We'd play in the morning till it was time to go to the pool. And it was in my backyard, so ground rules we were creating as we played to make things fair and all that kind of thing. Looking back, it's funny how I was always doing this kind of in some form or another, or organizing a 3-on-3 basketball tournament or a 1-on-1 basketball tournament with all my neighbor friends. And, it was just, small town growing up.
Mm. Yeah. And so how old were you when you got into Parks and Recreation, or when did you go full time into it?
Well, so when I went full time, that was after college. My first involvement with getting into Parks and Recreation and realizing what Parks and Recreation was really my freshman year at SIU. Day one, I went and applied at the Student Recreation Center because it's where sports happens, right? So
Right.
that's why I went and applied. I got hired as a substitute. Was not working hardly any regular shifts at all, but I was taking anything I could get. So we had an equipment desk position. We had base camp, which rents out outdoor equipment to students. We back then we had a towel shift in the
Ah,
locker room, which I worked very briefly.
what's the towel shift?
Huh?
What is the towel shift?
The towel. Yeah, it's just having towels available for everybody that needs one in the locker room. So
Oh my gosh,
this
that's
is
a full-time job because
yeah,
how
it
many
was the
towels do y'all go
mid
through?
it was the mid 80s or
Yeah.
late 80s, semi late 80s, 87. But we didn't have that much longer after I was a freshman. So we kind of got
Mhm.
rid of that position, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then, my roles there as I looked to try to get more experience, well, just more money really at the time as a freshman. I worked as a official for intramural sports, basketball and flag football and such. And my sophomore year, I was working the equipment desk. I was kind of struggling academically, not really sure what I'm going to do with my business degree. I'm like, am I going to be selling a widget? What am I going to be doing with this? I don't really, I got to make a connection to what I want to do. I have a vision of what I want to do
Mhm.
with that business degree. And I was talking to the GA that was in charge of us at the time during my shift. And I said, hey, how do I do what you do? You know? And that's really where I found out Parks and Recreation was a major, let alone a career,
Mhm.
and really just went all in with the SIU, uh, uh, everything there. I changed my major to recreation, worked under, or educationally was under the academic side of it with our, I guess one of my mentors at this point, Regina Glover, and then two, our mentor within the campus rec side of Mike Dunn, the GA, Chris Gepper, who I actually eventually went and worked for in my graduate assistantship in Miami, Ohio, and just so many graduate assistants, undergrads. We really had a great camaraderie. Mike Dunn was always encouraging us to go to conferences and meet other campus rec people. And so I drove down to South Carolina with my roommate once just to go to a region session, and I was all in. So I was really pursuing it hard, but it was great because obviously I found kind of a passion for that. I could see myself. I mean, it's still business, but at least kind of see a vision of what does that mean, and as you're going through and talking to all these colleagues, grad students, professionals, learning even more about what the business was all about. So that's where I really learned about it, and uh, try to one of the big things I'm doing nowadays, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but is trying to help those students make that connection in high school before college or in college. Every time I get an opportunity, I love to go over to Illinois State and talk to the students there and kind of promote Parks and Recreation as a major and as a career.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I really was excited about having you on the show, because we have our Young Professionals Network show every Friday at 12 noon Eastern. And we cater to kind of 5 groups. It's the students, the high school and college students is obviously the base layer. And then we've got interns. And then we've got people that are new to the industry. That's group 3. Group 4 would be people like yourself that are just, helping, whether it be teachers or mentors or professors. But that last group is the hardest group to get on the show. And it's those that have strong internship programs that bring students into their Parks and Rec department. And so after talking with you, it's more rare than you might think to have Parks and Rec departments that have internship programs or that reach out to kids and get them involved. But what were some of those early lessons you learned when you were exposed to that as a student?
Well, Mike, like I said, Mike was all about professional development or student development. Not only with the group that was sort of students, rec students that went around to these different conferences and just met on a regular basis just to talk stuff, but also just within the organization, within the Student Rec Center and the Office of Intramural Rec Sports. He was always looking for ways to diversify your experience, always promoting that idea. But even if you were a business major or whatever, any kind of major, you were still, I think, learning the lessons of student development, professional development, what it's like to have a job. I mean, it's amazing to me to think back at how students really ran a lot of those operations back then. And I would imagine they still do to some degree, but it just seems like hiring the same age group kids nowadays, they don't have some of those lessons. And, being in Parks and Recreation, we are hiring young adults, teens, 16, 17, sometimes even 15, with workers permits and such. So a lot of times we're their first job. So, it's really important, I think, that we try to teach those the responsibility and the lessons that go along with having a job and having that responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing I love about the culture of Parks and Recreation is they are not afraid to allow you to lead. It's not a lot of hand holding. It's, they show you the ropes a little and then they just walk away and you find yourself in charge of a program or something.
Yeah.
And I think it's always been that way, right?
I do. I feel like it's always kind of been that way. I mean, we still to this day. I mean, one of the best jobs we have is a lifeguard. I mean, the training involved, the customer interaction. I mean, you're not just getting a suntan out there. I mean, you're doing a job, and our guards know that when they're going through the training, and we take it seriously, and so. We try to make sure the public knows that as well.
Yeah. After 228 shows, I always hear about the part-time workers. It's always listed as lifeguards as one of the big ones, camp counselors, coaches, volunteers, stuff like that, concession stands. I have never had someone explain what does a lifeguard what can they expect? Can you kind of map that out for us? You'll be the first ever on this show because I didn't do it. I was never a lifeguard, but that's a big chunk of that part-time population.
Yeah, I don't know if some of them don't realize what they're, if they realize what they're getting into sometimes. But one of the first things you have to do, technically, before you are hired by us, you have to go through lifeguard certification.
Mhm.
And we're an Ellis Associates facility here, or we have actually two aquatic facilities. So we hire 80 guards a year, every season. And we have swim lessons during the off season in the schools indoors. So we also have guards that we hire for that as well. But we run them through that certification training, and we have 2, 3, 4, it depends on the year, 4 lifeguard certification trainers that are Ellis certified here,
Mhm.
and including our aquatic supervisor, who does a great job with that. But you start running them through, how to do this, a spinal, how to do CPR, and we don't mess around, and as most of us, do not mess around. It's serious business, and I think they
Mhm.
learn very quickly that um, that old school, and I would call it old school. I don't think it's as much of a perception as much anymore, but that old
Mhm.
school where you just, you can put anybody up in a guard chair in a red suit and a whistle, and they're going to be able to do something. I mean,
Mhm.
there's skills level tests that we have to pass them. Not we, I don't do it.
Right.
I was a guard briefly, but that's not my background. While I have a pretty good aquatic background, it's not necessarily as a lifeguard; it's more facility management.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we don't mess around with that stuff, and they learn very quickly. It's serious work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you literally are the first responder to someone drowning, and you got to get to them first, get them out, and then call for help if you need it. And you're learning this as one of your first job skills ever. So, I
Yeah, and we
mean,
have to bridge that care to the emergency response. So we that's the thing. We're first responders as much as anyone, any of
yeah.
the police or fire and such.
Oh, that's it. And then off you go. Here's your time. There's the people. Don't let them drown.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so then let's talk a little bit more about the program that y'all have. What do y'all? Well, obviously, do y'all have swimming pools? I guess over at Normal.
Yeah, we have 2 aquatic centers.
Mhm.
We have, one that's a little bit larger. We have 3 large, long slides, one's a curly slide, one's a fast slide, one's a tube slide, like a inner tube slide. And then we
Mhm.
have 2 drop slides. We have a diving board. We have a deep well, and that for that. We have zero depth entry with splash pads and such.
Mhm.
So it's a pretty good sized facility with a pretty large bather load. And then we have our other facility has a zero depth, sort of a toddler pool. It's deepest I think it's like 12 inches, I think. It's not much more than that. And then we have your traditional, it's an old pool that's been sort of reshelled a couple
Mhm.
times. So it's a rectangular pool, has a diving board, and then a smaller set of slides, 2 slides there that drop into another square rectangular pool.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we do quite a bit of it. Obviously, in the 2.5 months of summer, do quite
Mhm.
a bit of that business.
Yeah. And so, I've never done a show on aquatics. I know it's going to be one of our shows that's just going to be a standalone weekly show, but maybe you can give us just a 101, what it's like to run an aquatic center, maintain an aquatic center. What is the kind of staff aside from the lifeguards that you need?
Well, I don't do it much anymore, but
Yeah.
no. So here, it's very much a team effort. So our aquatic supervisor really takes care of more of the staffing, training, programming, scheduling, swim lessons, more of the on deck stuff, I guess, if you want to call it front of the house. If the interaction with the uh, the patrons, And then we have a number of CPOs and that are and park maintenance guys that work behind the scenes in making sure that the pool chemicals, the pH, the chlorine, all that stuff is running accurately. The filters and the pumps are working. With the pools, the age of the pools that we're dealing with now, it's a daily grind for those guys. And of course, there's got to be constant communication between the two because they can't be out there. They have other work to do. The park maintenance guys do. So the pool facility managers, the supervisors, all need to make sure they know when something's not right, and a lot of times already have learned over time what needs to be done. And if they're capable of it, they could do it. Otherwise, we call back the other guys that know the mechanics, the mechanical side of it.
Yeah, and then this is not financially, it's not an easy lift because running these pools is quite expensive. Does y'all kind of turn a profit, or does it support itself, or that's kind of something you just support because it's a life-saving skill kind of thing?
Yeah, it's something you support because I don't know really how you make money on a pool, especially if you take into account the capital side of it.
Right.
When I was in Washington, Illinois for 14 years, most years we were really close to breaking even operationally, but that wasn't covering any sort of capital expense that we would have to take on.
Yeah.
If we did any improvements, major improvements, any major, repairs that had to be made in the off season, whatever, we those were not incorporated into that. But operationally, our fees were and revenues were outpacing our expenses most times, and barely. Here, I just don't think that's even possible. There's a few other, I think, factors to that, but it's gotten more and more difficult. But ultimately, I mean, do you want a pool in your community? Or do you not want a pool in your community? I think that's really what it comes down to. And, it's tough because it's 2.5 months out of the year that you're running this full operation, expensive operation. And, you don't, I don't know if it would be better over a longer term. It might be because you could maybe recoup some of those revenues, some of the basic expenses you incur in the 2.5 months could be carried over and offset over a longer period of time, I think maybe, but you don't have that, it's not even an option. But, really comes down to what does the community want,
Yeah. And typically when I hear the price tag of some of these aquatic centers, you're expecting, I don't know what you're expecting, but usually I hear 10, 20, $30 million to redo, and I'm just blown away. So it's outside of the public realm. I don't know that, any private organization would be able to do what the cities do when it comes to aquatic centers.
Building a facility's got more expensive. Operating a facility's got more expensive. It is. It's not. It's it's a difficult job, and you have to understand the expectations, and hopefully the public understands the expectations, which I know they don't always. When you raise, your $55 individual pass to $60 and you get some grief for it, it's like, well, do you even understand what you're getting for that $60? I mean, if we had to charge what we needed to break even, it would be double that probably per individual, and that's just for the season pass. That's accounting for the same increase in our daily passes and our concessions, all that stuff. We kind of did those numbers once, and it was like to help tell the story, of this is what an aquatic center is and what it costs.
Yeah, and then if it weren't for the cities running these facilities, so a big, massive chunk of the population just wouldn't even have access to it if not for the work y'all are doing.
Yeah, I mean, they would not in the way that we provide them. You have your hotel pools and things like that, or you have your big major aquatic centers that become destinations well beyond that. But again, those are expensive, right? I mean, if you can't do those every day, and we're really trying to provide that daily, we want to see you come in every day and enjoy the pool, enjoy the water, enjoy the atmosphere. And, that's what a community pool is all about.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love it. Okay, so we'll blew past that first section. Let me go ahead and play a little promo.
Okay.
I'm gonna play the facilities maintenance promo because that's a show that we're building on the front. It'll be our morning show, and we've had a lot of great guests there. And then after that, I'm just gonna play the young professional show. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll be right back.
All right.
Behind every thriving park, every safe playground, every event-ready field, there's a team working before sunrise and long after sunset. This is Facility Maintenance, the only show created for and by the unsung heroes of parks and recreation. Brought to you by DPRS Media Co., where real work gets real recognition. From restrooms to rec centers, HVAC to turf tech, we go beyond the job site into the heart of operations that keep our communities moving. Our mission? To elevate maintenance teams through stories, solutions, and shared experience. Our vision? A world where every facility crew is seen, valued, and fully supported. Each episode features operators, innovators, and leaders, sharing tools, tech, and tactics that make the impossible look easy. Facility maintenance isn't just a job, it's purpose, it's passion, and now it's a show. Facility Maintenance, where tools meet purpose, where work becomes legacy. Are you ready to lead the next generation of Parks and Rec? Whether you're a student, intern, or rising leader, welcome to the Young Professionals Network by DPRS Media Co. Our mission? To empower early career professionals in parks and recreation through mentorship, visibility, and real-world leadership development. Our vision? A national network of passionate, prepared, and purpose-driven leaders who shape the future of public service. Starting now. Powered by the Daily Parks and Rec Show, YPN gives you access to exclusive interviews, career-building resources, behind-the-scenes content, and live events, all created by and for the next wave of Parks and Rec professionals. Learn from seasoned directors, build your brand, get involved with national conversations that matter. Whether you're in youth sports, facilities, programming, or policy, YPN is your launchpad. Young Professionals Network, your career, your community, your story.
All right, so before we dig a little deeper into YPN, the Young Professionals, what do you have to say about all the facilities, maintenance people, and crews? I mean, I've heard that it's easily half of the work and manpower and money that goes into just maintaining the facilities that y'all have.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, half our staffing is park maintenance. Probably more than that, actually. I mean, you think I'd know this off the top of my head, but yeah, we probably have 20, 21, 22 of our park maintenance staff of our total staff. So, and that's just the full-time guys. That's not even the part-time and seasonal that we hire, during this time of the year. But no, they're the ones that make sure everything's working and everything looks good, and you hear about it when it's not, usually. And so and I also think it's also the difference in, when you walk into a facility or you're walking through a park, little details that are taken care of aren't always noticed right away, but they're noticed subconsciously, I guess, if that makes any sense. This is what I've always kind of, when you got a cobweb in the corner and you knock that thing down, and somebody walks in, you can just tell when a place is cleaner, and you just notice it, and you don't know what it is that changed, but something's cleaner, and so you have to take care of those details. And we have an incredible, and I know every director probably says this probably a lot of times anyway. We have an incredible team, very talented, a lot of skills. So we can do a lot of things, from building, laying, concrete. So we do a lot of our own projects when we start talking about installation of playgrounds and renovating or repairing sidewalks and all that kind of stuff. We have a great team that takes care of it. And it's always hard getting those compliments, but we have just this past weekend, I had different emails from two different areas that talked about our horticulture team and how great whatever flower bed that they were looking at looked,
Mhm.
how attractive it was, and what kind of plants do you have in there, and that kind of thing. It's really encouraging when you hear that.
Yeah.
Of course, we're also dealing with another area at the same time that's, yeah, this area is bad. Of course,
Right.
it's a waterway ditch
Right.
that, is more difficult to maintain, and you can't mow it every day. You're not going to
Right.
mow it every day. We're trying to grow it up, and so it's reduces erosion and all that kind of stuff. So challenges are always different, and our staff's able to handle all those differences. They do a
Mhm.
great job.
Yeah, and it's not just the cleanliness and cutting and mowing and blowing and that kind of stuff, but they're also, like you said, managing projects that are upgrading, doing all these deferred maintenance, yeah, checklist that never ends, and
Yeah,
then setting up and tearing down for every special event you can imagine.
yeah,
All that's the same crew.
yep.
Yeah.
June, July are busy months, and July this year was, it's July is Parks and Recreation month, so we try to do extra events in there. We also opened a brand new skate park, so we're doing a or not a groundbreaking, a ribbon cutting ceremony,
Mhm.
basically, where we actually called it Break Back on Board is what we called the event, and they've got to set up all that stuff, and so
Yep.
it was not just 5 days a week. It was a lot of times 7 days a week, and we're scrambling to figure out who's all going to cover those shifts, and those
Yeah.
setups.
Yeah, I remember in Baton Rouge when we had our first skate park that we had, and it has like a rock climbing thing, skate park, and then all the other, the stuff that you see on a normal facility with the gym and the football fields and stuff like that. But man, that skate park is just nonstop, just people just coming out of the woodworks just to use it.
Yeah.
Seems like every city has that now. Is y'all's How old is y'all's? Is it just recently been launched or?
Well, we had one that was installed in 2002. It was old
Mhm.
steel ramps. They had that rusted patina to them,
Mhm.
but they were 20 plus, almost 25 years old.
Mm.
So we just took all that out and put in a brand new concrete um, uh, pump style, we call it. It has like some pump features in it
Mhm.
that have been really popular, but also, um, has. I'm not a skateboarder, so I don't know, but we had a lot of interaction with the skating community. It was one of the best processes in a project that I've ever been through, where we had a lot of engagement and a lot of feedback on what they thought. We presented it, a development, a concept of it. They gave us more feedback. We morphed it into what it is today, and have gotten really great reviews on it.
Mm.
It was one of the best planning, and from planning to concept to development to build, best projects I've ever been a part of.
Mm. Yeah. What is that category called? So I think the original one was just a playground. It was something that you might not see all the time at a home. So the city built a playground, but then we moved into a splash pad, and then we had skate parks, and then we had pump tracks. And do you have a name for that category of that item that sits on a parkland or public land?
Not really. I mean, amenities. I mean,
Amenities. Maybe that's
yeah,
what
we
it is.
just, yeah, I would call it an amenity. We
Yeah.
try to, we try to offer a little bit of something for everybody. I mean,
Mhm.
what kind of interest do you have in the community, and how can we fill that? If it's
Yeah.
not, especially if it's not already filled by, the private industry,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think I've seen ropes courses, climbing
mhm.
walls. Any others that you've seen in your career out there
And
similar
there's
to
so
that?
many. I mean, um, unfortunately, we don't have some of these, but a cricket pitch, for
Oh,
example. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
those are really limited. We have a huge cricket population here. We do not have a cricket pitch for them.
yeah,
We've kind of created a space for it, but it's not ideal by any means.
yeah.
But that's something that is unique. But yeah, I mean, we have a food forest. We have a
No way. What is that?
large. So and actually it's the 10th anniversary. So
Oh my
this year.
goodness.
So, but basically it's a planting of a number of different types of natural native edible plants.
Mhm.
So blackberries, blueberries, or not. Well, I guess blueberries. I don't even know what's out there.
Mhm.
But again, that's the thing. I'm an athletic background. I'm a facility background. I'm an aquatic background. But I don't even know about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's important because there are people out there that have this interest. So we let I let people that know about that kind of help develop these things. But yeah, it's basically you could go out there and harvest when times are ripe, and you have natural organic food that you can take home
Yeah.
with you, basically.
Yeah, I
So,
actually heard of it was somebody in Texas that had a food forest and they were telling me a little bit about it. I'd never heard of it, but it's just like on public land, this all these orchards of all these trees. Oranges are really big down here in the South,
mhm.
and it was just a great concept. And like you said, it's just like public land, public food, public trees, and great idea.
Herb- like herbs and
Yeah.
that kind of thing are growing in there too. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so shifting gears into YPN, do y'all and I think, Illinois has a fairly well-developed, young professionals network. I know it started almost a decade ago with, NRPA. Are you involved in that at all, or how is that over there?
I am not. There we have a couple of different things through IPRA, Illinois Park
Mhm,
and Rec Association. Um, there's that basically focuses on youth professionals.
mhm,
One of the things that they do, and we've been trying to move, as most people know, Chicago and the Chicago area is much more concentrated in Parks and Rec than downstate. And being downstate, having I've been up in the Chicagoland area, so I know what we do up there and what we did. And I tried to bring that with me when I moved to Washington and now here to Normal. But we just don't have the density of the professionals and the networks and the connections and the proximity to each other.
mhm,
It's a long way for us to go to get together. But one of the things that IPRA does, and we want to expand it downstate more, is a mentorship program. Um, and I don't know that I can talk very well about this
mhm,
because I've just been introduced as maybe how do we bring this downstate? That's about the extent of it. But it's basically an experienced professional, a mid-level experienced professional, and a young professional, and
mhm,
they all kind of learn from each other. So it's kind of this triangle of and promoting certain activities that they do on an annual basis when they're in this mentorship program to help learn from each other, and then after that you usually maintain those relationships.
mhm.
um, so it, it, that's about as much as I can talk about it.
Yeah.
You have to get somebody from IPRA maybe on here to talk about that end of it.
Y
One of the committee members, I don't even know who's. Um,
yeah. Yeah, and we had it reminds me of the, Henry County, Georgia is, really one of the best run park departments I've ever encountered, and they have something called the watering can. Now it's on their facilities maintenance side, but a lot of these high schoolers will come in and just work with the maintenance departments for a summer, and it's where they hire a majority out of that population is where they hire a majority of their, future full-time staffers that work on park maintenance, and like that is just a great program to expose people that are coming into the industry, maybe never even considered the industry in a kind of real working way, kind of get them exposed to the industry.
Yeah, we have a number of seasonal park maintenance that have become now part timers, which is a 10-month out of the year season
Mm,
position. And a lot of times we are able to retain those 10-month people. But number one, because they, I think, enjoy working with us and doing the kind of things that we do. But we also try to give them that diverse experience in a variety of different types of area, between from mowing to facility maintenance to, whatever, building projects, that kind of stuff. So I think that we are able to retain more of those part timers, which is great because we train them, and we haven't had a lot of movement in our full timers, but we have a lot that would maybe moving in the near future, retiring. And that's where we've always, one of the first places we've looked to hire is internal. And that's historically before I was here, even. A lot of the guys that are hired, they said, yeah, I worked part-time for 2 or 3 years before I got the full-time job. So
Okay.
we do a good job of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that to me, that's a great way. If we're going to get this industry out of a discovery major, you didn't even know I could have a job doing this. That's how we do it. Start with that massive group of part-timers. I think if there's 350,000 nationwide people that work full-time in Parks and Rec, there's probably 3 or 4 times that many that are part-timers coming in. So this might be 1 million people that are exposed to your industry through lifeguarding, through, cutting grass, through volunteering and coaching. It's a huge population.
Yeah. We have 600 part-time seasonal staff during the summer. So compared to 34 full-time staff. So we expand our operation pretty dramatically.
Gosh, that's almost 20 times the population. Yes, it might be 3 or 4 million people nationwide.
We can start to promote, that to those 600, because not all of them are youth. Probably I would guess maybe half are youth without really looking at the actual statistics. But I mean, because they're all day camp counselors, so we get those from coaches. As you went through that whole list earlier, most of those are young adults, college kids, especially here in Bloomington Normal, especially Normal, where we have ISU like literally 2 blocks over. So
maybe we should start like a convention for part-timer convention, summer camp or something.
Well, we're recruiting ISU students next week at they call it ISU Festival, where organizations can come in, and we go to that every year. So it's like a kind of a
jobs fair kind of thing.
I don't know. I mean, we got different tents, and all the different organizations have giveaways, and gives you an opportunity to talk to them and tell them what you're all about. And we recruit them for volunteer opportunities that we have, and as well as obviously job opportunities that we have, because we need volunteers from them as well. And then our relationship with ISU goes back to some of my days at SIU. 2 of the guys that work at ISU are former classmates of mine at Southern Illinois. And so I don't want to take too much credit, because they already had a good relationship with ISU. But when I came here, I really made an effort to improve and expand on that connection. Anytime they need us to come talk, whether it be me or any of my staff, to come talk and promote, Parks and Recreation as a major, or specifically our line of Parks and Recreation, because obviously there's a variety of different areas you could go into. We send our staff over there to do that. And I did that. And I even got to teach a class a year ago, fall semester. So that was kind of different for me, because I would never see myself teaching a class, but I was an adjunct professor for 1 semester over there. So that was fun.
Yeah. Now, I probably should have led with this story, because it's such a great story. And I think it shows how Parks and Recreation really is kind of like a family that pulls together during tough times. But you had mentioned that your town you were involved with was wiped out by a tornado, and how your neighboring associations really pitched in to help y'all recover from that. Can you maybe tell people about that?
So I would, after we didn't even really get through most of my background story before we got diverted. But that's a little bit of a squirrel moment for me. But anyway, major tangent that got right straight to the end. But I ended up, I was a director at Washington, Illinois for 13 and a half, almost 14 years. And starting in 2003. And on November 17th, 2013, we had a F4 tornado cut directly through the middle of town. And it was kind of an odd day, because it was really warm and nice in the morning and very calm, I remember. But all of a sudden, I was at home and my family, our alarms went off on our phone telling us that there was a tornado warning. So we turn on the TV to get a little better idea of what's going on. And I'm always kind of looking for where that's coming from. Not that I'm not the Midwest myth of going out and watch the tornado kind of thing, but kind of I want to know where, if I'm going to get hit and where it's coming from, even if the chances of that are pretty small. And we were direct impact. My house was completely leveled. My family and I were downstairs in our basement underneath the stairs. Everybody with our dog, everything was fine. But it was the strangest thing coming back up and out into our basement, which was completely, there was debris all over the place. It blew out our egress windows in our basement. It was a finished basement. And there was just stuff, insulation, boards, all kinds of stuff just blown around. And then we start to go up the stairs and there was no roof. And then we get up to the main level and there is only a subfloor. So our house was completely wiped out, as were several of our neighbors. And obviously the destruction was just amazing to think about. And it was just, you don't know what to do. And it was kind of a blur what happened after that. But I started going, my wife and I kind of kept our kids. One of our daughter was 12 years old, I think at the time. We told her to stay kind of at the house. So she didn't, obviously, there's nails and all, just garbage everywhere. So we were going house to house trying to help find if anybody needed help. We had to help a few people get out of their basements and such. And then we had to try to find some safety because we looked like there was another storm coming through. But anyway, long story short, it affected probably over 1,100 houses were damaged pretty significantly. It literally cut through the middle of town. And we had 5 parks that had some sort of damage or another, 2 that were majorly damaged. And we had to react to that. It's interesting. And one of the things that I wanted to, there's a couple of things I want to get out of this. Number one, we were a small district. We have a total of 4 or 5 full-time people. I think we had 5 at the time. We expanded in there somewhere. And we don't have the resources like a lot of bigger park districts and like I have now, and I should back up. The rec manager, who is basically my assistant director, who did not live in town, heard about the tornado, tried to reach out to me. Communication was down. I think I was able to text is about all I was doing. And one of the amazing things to me was how many text messages I was getting, because like I said, that's the only thing I could do, from my colleagues across the state that once they heard Washington was hit, thought of me and texted me to find out if we were fine. And of course I responded. I think I had just by this point copied and pasted my response. My family is fine, we're fine, but the house is gone. And that was my typical response to everybody, which of course, sometimes I got a bigger response back, like, what? It was unbelievable. And it really was unbelievable. My rec manager, he immediately was like, well, what are we going to do? He drove into town, was able to get past blockades and damage because it was a challenge, and was able to get to our main. We had an old school that was serving as our recreation center. We had acquired and developed, and he got there and immediately started mobilizing staff for the next day to be able to provide childcare. And I don't think we needed it the next day because nothing was happening really. Well, I guess they had to do a little bit. I can't remember if we did it that day or not. Again, I'm a little bit of a blur about some of that because there was so much happening at the same time, but he handled it all. And the great thing about it, and I think it shows what Parks and Recreation can do and what a park district can do in a community, no matter what the situation is we can adjust and adapt and provide some sort of service. And so he committed to basically providing any kind of childcare we needed to provide over however long we needed to provide it. And we had a daily schedule. He brought in vetted staff and volunteers that we were able to make sure had security, background checks and that kind of thing. And then we brought in programming that kept the kids entertained, hopefully provide some sort of, emotional and social support as well. And he just ran with that and did a great job. He's the current director in Washington after I left. So he's still there and did a great job. But it really shows stepping up in an emergency and being able to do those things. Then where I came in a little bit more is the disaster recovery. And I was attending the morning meetings and talking about, okay, here's where we're at. We need power back up. So Ameren was present and talking about, okay, well, we're probably 2 days away from having full power back to, the residents. And then somebody else would come in and talk about security, like police. I think state police were there as well as our police, the attorney general, local, to prevent looting and scams, because that's another thing we got to worry about. But anyway, they kept talking about all these different things. How do we get rid of this debris? How do we do this? How are we doing that? And in the meantime, I'm continuing to get these calls and emails from my colleagues and the Illinois Association Park District. And I don't know if everybody's familiar, but IPRA, Illinois Park and Rec Association, is kind of the professional side. It serves the professional. We also have an Illinois Association of Park Districts, which kind of handles our advocacy and legislative efforts. And the Illinois Association of Park Districts reached out to me and said, how can we help? We have a number of park district directors that are wanting to help and send you resources in any way possible. And so I was able to mobilize and kind of work with her to coordinate several park districts to come in and start doing vegetative debris cleanup. And it's amazing because I probably knew the directors from a lot of those. I being a part of IPRA and being in leadership in the board, although I wasn't at the time, I still knew a lot of people having worked up in the Chicagoland area. A lot of my friends sent resources, and it was great. It's amazing to me, and it really shows the what kind of field we're in and what kind of organization Illinois has here in IPRA and IAPD, and the camaraderie and the support that we show for each other in times when we need it. Because there are over, I can't even tell you, 45, I think, different park districts with grapple, bobcat attachments that were just lifting logs out of the way and all that sort of thing. And and the individual support they gave me, it was just incredible. And I just don't know that you find that in a lot of industry, and that's the great thing about, what we do and the people we work with.
Yeah.
Whether it's your own organization or beyond, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think, when we go to slashing budgets and putting Parks and Rec first on the chopping blocks, and we think we're just cutting out some swim lessons, a lot of times what we don't realize is that during a catastrophe, even though the police and the firemen usually have the manpower to respond in some capacity, they don't have the facilities that can really help a community get back on its feet, from the community centers, plus all the staff. And then you've got these maintenance crews with trucks and trailers and bucket trucks, and they can all be brought to bear on the local problem that they have. And then typically FEMA is setting up shop, usually at a park and rec community center of some sort. And so it's like, okay, now is this something that we would classify as not necessary or not essential? Because when you need it most, that's when you want to make sure it's well funded and well manned and can actually respond well. And that is certainly an essential part of the service that y'all provide.
Yeah, we definitely showed our worth that day. It was more than that day, that period of time. and I think, we serve a bigger role a lot of times too, from the mental and social and physical wellness side of it as well. Especially after that kind of a disaster. Like I said, the kids, we tried to just bring some normalcy to what they did every day. Instead of having to worry about the fact that their bedroom and all their toys and everything like that is gone. And yeah.
Yeah. And we had a similar experience during Katrina. Baton Rouge was New Orleans just kind of moved to Baton Rouge during that. And BRAC, the Parks Department, was just flooded with all the people that would come out from all over the country to help. And even a lot of the military helicopters were landing in our soccer fields, plucking people off of roofs and landing in the soccer fields, the baseball fields, and then going back to New Orleans. And all that was really the infrastructure they used was our park system. And because what else were they going to use? And so that was a huge part of the recovery. And so, I'm glad you're able to tell that story.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me tell the story, I guess.
And then lastly, I know we're kind of at the end, but we'll go a little bit longer. You were the chair of IRPA. I know those who hasn't visited IRPA, I know a lot of times they'll go to NRPA or their local state conference, but if you ever have a chance to go to IRPA, it really is a whole nother level that Illinois has there. Maybe what can you say a little bit about that since you were president of it in 2021?
Yeah, obviously, after the tornado and all the support I received, I was like, I had the opportunity in 2017 to become the Central Illinois rep on the IPRA board, and so I was like, I will do that because at that point I feel like I want to give back to as much as I can to what IPRA does and did, and IPRA. When we go to NRPA or we go to other conferences, we have a pretty large contingent that follows us. But IPRA, we have 4,500 attendees at our conference, and
wow,
it's pretty significant compared to other states. I worked in Illinois or Indiana briefly, and I just remember the state organization conference there compared to when I went to Illinois my first time. It's a whole nother ballgame, as you said, and the vendors and the attendees, the professionals, the universities. We have a number of great universities that promote parks and recreation in Illinois, including Illinois State and Southern Illinois and Western Illinois. I think, I don't want to miss. I'm going to miss others because I know there's others. Aurora, there's another one in there, but they all do great jobs promoting parks and recreation, and I think it's and I'm partial, but I think it's the best state association in the country, and put us up against most anybody. And we have a great, as I mentioned, IAPD, the Illinois Association of Park Districts, which does incredible work representing us in Springfield and our advocacy efforts to make sure that that the way we're serving our community is the best way to serve the community, and we don't have hurdles and obstacles that we have to jump through in doing that as much as possible. They represent us very well down there.
Yep.
And the great thing about Parks and Recreation is it's bipartisan.
Right.
How can you, whether you're Democrat or Republican or whatever, you can't argue with what we do and maybe how we do it sometimes, but generally we're trying to do what's good for the best for everyone. And so it's hard to argue with those guys when they go to Springfield and they start talking to the legislators about what we do.
Yeah, it really is a universal good that serves all of its members of the community, especially the underserved and the less fortunate. But even if you say, how does it serve maybe the people that are doing the best in our community, you see all walks of life using the park systems, even if it's just a beautiful park in their neighborhood. I think everybody experiences that as a common good that we all want to come together on.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I have a question for you. But before that, if you have a group of undecided college kids don't know what they're going to do with their life. Can you give a sales pitch for the industry?
Hey, my dad, when I told him I was majoring in Parks and Recreation, he says you're just majoring in fun and games, and I'm like, yes, I am.
Yes.
So whether it's fun and games, when you're directly involved in putting on those fun and games as a camp counselor, or a program supervisor or whatever, or you're doing what I do, managing a $11 million budget, and promoting playgrounds and recreation facilities and maintenance and all those sorts of things. Yeah, it's very business oriented, even though I was not sure I wanted to get into business at the time. It's very business oriented, which when you're dealing with Parks and Recreation, it makes it a lot easier and a lot better, because the end result is having an impact on your community. And that's the best thing right there, is having that impact on your community and really focusing on making things better for your residents.
Yeah, absolutely. And then hopefully we can take this story on the road and try to share what goes on, not just in Parks and Rec at the local level at a department, but we are attending, I think, 12 Parks and Rec Associations annual conventions as kind of like the press that comes in. So I know we're attending in Georgia, California, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi,
Illinois in January.
Yeah, well, I haven't got invited yet. I'm kind of holding back on that, but if you can help me get in touch with the right people, I would love to.
Absolutely make sure you get in touch with the right people. I will probably try to make a call here in a little bit, make sure that we reach out to you and see if we can make that happen.
Yes, because we can't cover Parks and Rec annual events and just not cover Illinois, because they're just leading the charge here. Appreciate everything y'all are doing there. Okay, so our question comes from New York. It comes from, is it Ronald? I think it was. Yeah, Ronald Anderson at Westchester County, New York. They service a lot of people. They have 1,500 people on staff. But the question he has for you is, and this is a tough one, how can you best plan 5 to 15 years out for this changing population so that the next generation of children want to come to your Parks and Rec facility?
Well, I mean, I think, doing the kind of things that we did with that skate park project. When we announced that we were, that project was happening, we put out a notice, a flyer, and we got it out to the market, the market we're trying to hit. So we were able to go, we went to a skate shop. I had collected a few skater, people that had contacted me about skating, and reached out to them and was able to distribute that information. We had 45 to 50 individuals that came to our first public meeting, and our design consultants from our vendor that came out talked to almost every single one of them, and said, what do you want? What do you want to see? And I think that's just what you have to do. You have to get an idea of what people want, what the kids want. And we have to keep focus on what the kids want and not so much what the parents want a little bit, although you are trying to sell the parent as well. But right. You got to have something the kid wants to be excited about and is going to have fun doing when they come to that activity or whatever it is, or whatever, if it's an amenity in the park or the type of facility that you're trying to provide. Do you have the right parts in there? And still, obviously, provide that safety and security that a parent is going to be looking for, and you're always looking for that educational opportunity. But sometimes kids just want to have fun and need to have fun, And I don't think that's going to change a lot in the future. What they do, or the activity they do, I mean, just like pickleball nowadays, right? It's much different than what it was 20 years ago. What they do might change, but ultimately it's going to be having fun.
Yep. And I can't remember what director said this, but he said his playground specialist was his 7-year-old. He would go from playground to playground saying, which pieces do you like the most? And he would literally write that feedback down and get some of her friends to come with her. And that's how he designed his playground.
I have two concept designs in my office here, and I've had staff with their kids, as they're getting ready to go back to school this week, come through with their kids, and we're like, "Hey, which one do you like the best?"
That's it.
So already taking a tally on those two playgrounds.
Yep. Yep. All right. So what question would you like to leave for our next guest?
Jeez. Uh, how do you, I should have been better prepared. I think you told me about this, didn't you?
That's okay.
Um,
We got time.
I think, how what do you think is the best way to reach out to the high school population and the college population to inform them on what a great career parks and recreation is? How do we promote that better?
What do you think is the best way for you to reach out to high school and college kids to promote the industry?
Yeah, the method. How do we reach them? That's one thing I think IPRA is struggling with. That's one thing that I'm on the Southern Illinois University Recreation Advisory Board, and we are trying to figure that out. Here at ISU, even where we talk about it a lot. How do you make them realize it before they get to college, or and then here, once they're in college, how do you get them to realize there's a career there?
Yep. That's a good one. Well, we'll throw it out there and we'll see what the world of the Daily Parks and Rec Show community has to say, because that really is an important one, and we need to get some good answers on that and put them in the practice.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Well, Doug, thank you so much. This has been we went over, but it was worth it, and appreciate all that you shared with. Are you going to NRPA this year by any chance?
I'm not. I got a lot going on with projects and things going on here. I'm not able to go this year.
Yeah.
I usually do try to attend, but
if you can get me in, I would love to attend as the Daily Parks and Rec Show and air all our shows live from y'all's convention in January. I don't think I have anything on the books for January. February and March are stacked, but
yeah, I forget when it is. It's the last week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday of January, I think.
January.
I'll send you the dates, and
Yeah, well,
I'll hopefully send you a contact.
yeah, let me
Or
know.
I'll have somebody contact you.
Even better, even better.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for the hard work that you're doing over there, and thank you for setting a great example for the Parks and Rec community and coming online and sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yep, appreciate you, Doug. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
All right. So what another great show, Doug over there in Normal, Illinois. Just a great example of that story of how park systems really do pull together, and not just pull together, on good times, but especially in bad times when they really need one another, and how these communities can come and help bring a community back after something like a F4 hurricane, tearing apart a community. And I think that goes to show that in addition to this being essential health and wellness services providing for strong communities, but it's also an essential service to help respond to catastrophes that are inevitable. They're part of our future. They're part of our past and even present, and that the community, the Parks and Rec departments play a vital role in lifting a community back up out of something that can hit a community like a hurricane or a fire or a tornado, or you name it. There's always something seems to be hitting our communities, and more often than not, the Parks and Rec facilities are the facilities that is kind of like the base camp for any type of recovery. So this is why we're trying to highlight more of this being an essential service that we want to make sure stays well funded throughout the years. So great testimony from Doug. Okay, so we have got a lot coming up. We are, as I said, we are attending, I know Georgia, Kentucky, we're squared away with them, Louisiana as well. Trying to think, is it California as well? And then we're also going to NRPA. We're going to be meeting Tuesday, 4 to 6. We don't know the exact location, but just pencil away. If you want to come meet the Daily Parks and Rec Show, me and a couple of my hosts and the other team members are going to be there. Please stop by, say hello, maybe hop online, do a 5-10 minute interview. How's the convention going for you? And then we're also going to Wednesday morning have a coffee. There's a couple of coffee houses right there around the convention. We'll probably do something. So as soon as I get those locations nailed down in a few weeks, please stop by and we'll be giving out more information about that. I'm going to close out with the Youth Sports Mastery Show promo with host Aaron Locks. He has 40 years in the industry and has some of the best contacts when it comes to coaching, athletic directors. Has been doing this forever and runs a great show. That's the Youth Sports Mastery Show every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be tomorrow. And so don't miss out on that. And then also look out for our newsletter. We're really getting into the stride of the newsletter, and now we've got a lot of great articles flooding in from the entire profession. We're going to start highlighting 4 or 5 articles from the profession in our newsletter, along with a lot of other great stuff and news. So it goes out every Sunday, 5 a.m. So if you're interested, please just find me on LinkedIn or Sherry on LinkedIn, and we can kind of get you plugged into that. And if you have a great story or you have a great article that you've written, 500 to 1,000 words, we would love to highlight those articles in each of our weekly newsletter, try to get that good information out to the community in that written format, because not everybody likes coming online and talking in front of the camera, but some of you are amazing authors, writers, and just have a lot of wisdom to share. Many of you have got, can't get over their amount of masters and PhDs that are working in this industry. And so there's a lot of great wisdom to share, and we don't want that to be locked away or hidden in a best kept secret. As Molly Keys, one of my friends that's a director and also the president of YPN right now, says, there are no best kept secrets in Parks and Recreation. And so we want to do our part in getting that wisdom out to the community. So, all right. So this is Craig LeBlanc signing off with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We will see y'all here again tomorrow. And then after our regular show, we have our Youth Sports Mastery Show on Thursdays as well. So we'll see y'all then. Thanks a lot, guys. Love you. Bye.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content. We elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics and powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. and the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co. LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.